Hi, welcome to the BoshNRoll channel. I'm your host, Brian Koval. Before we get started, make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. If you want to see me play your favorite deck or your spicy brew on the channel, I take donation deck lists. I'll do a deck tech, play a full Magic Online League, and help tune your list. If that sounds good, check out my contact info. It's in the video description below. Now let's go play some Magic. Welcome back to the BoshNRoll channel. Today I'm playing Legacy, and this is a donation deck from subscriber Spunky. Spunky and I have been working off camera quite a bit together, doing some coaching and stuff. Spunky played in the early 90s, didn't touch Magic for a long time, and came back about 5 months ago and jumped right into the deep end with Legacy. So we've been trying to catch him up and play some sweet decks in the process, and this is kind of the deck where we found a sweet spot that does a lot of the things that he wants to do in Magic. And this started out as a Noble Hierarch deck. It had more Days Undoing in it, but the more that Spunky adjusted the list to his playstyle, the more mid-range it got. And now it's just a Bant control deck. Not quite Bant Miracles. Like, that is a deck that exists. It has Terminus and Mystic Sanctuary and stuff in it. This is still a more mid-range deck, but it's a lot bigger than a Noble Hierarch style deck would be. So we got the Sylvan Libraries, Icefang Coatls, early game plays, a lot of Planeswalkers to take over the late game, and of course, Uro and Shark Typhoon. So this is very much a mid-range deck, survive the early turns, overwhelm with card advantage in the mid-game. We should be able to get up under the control decks and go over the aggro decks, which is exactly what mid-range is supposed to do. Some things that Spunky's been working on his own is this Narset is new. There were two Snapcaster Mages. We want to try Narset. It just as more late game, another sort of Hullbreacher effect, but a stickier one that also generates card advantage. And one thing that we figured out together is that Rest in Peace is really good in Legacy right now, and even though we're an Uro and Snapcaster deck, Rest in Peace is still worth bringing in. And in a lot of cases, if your opponent sees Uro game 1, they're not going to play around Rest in Peace in game 2. So I actually think that's a really interesting pivot where we would just board out the Uros when we bring in the Rest in Peace and get to do something totally different. So pretty heavy anti-combo sideboard here because we should beat creature decks a lot of the time anyway. Got Supreme Verdicts, Plows, we're here to crush creature decks. 1 Days Undoing to shut the door. Like, if you're a little bit ahead, you can start aggressively cantripping for this and just shut the door completely. And we didn't want to flood out on these. Like, if you play 2 or 3, it starts to become a clunker, but there are matchups where Hullbreacher's not even good, and Days Undoing is only good if you have Hullbreacher, so that's just a little option there that can shut the door on a game you're slightly ahead of. So nothing super fancy here, just some like techie mid-range choices for the Bant color scheme. Let's see how it goes. I'm on the playing game 1. This hand is a little exposed to Wasteland for a deck that plays 7 basics. I don't love that, but I'm not going to mulligan a hand with 2 lands and a Ponder, plus Uro. Yeah, this is a keep. I'm going to be looking for lands off of this Ponder, though. The perfect Ponder would be like Force of Will and 2 lands. Okay, so I found some lands, and I am interested in this Swords to Plowshares. So I guess I want to draw the Flooded Strand now. So if they're a creature matchup, we are extremely well set up to combat it. If this is a combo deck, we might just get dumpstered. So let's see how it goes. But kept a perfectly reasonable mid-range hand. Oh, we got a fan in the chat. The normal exchange of fan of your videos. Thanks, you're in one. Followed by Ruh-Roh. Alright, so Wooded Foothills. Are you an honest green deck, or are you pretending in your Rug Delver? And it's like pretty reasonable against elves. Oh, it's not that. Okay, so it is a combo-y style green deck. There's the Wasteland that I was not a fan of, and Now I'm going to draw that Swords to Plowshares that I put on top when I would rather have the basic island that is underneath it. But the good news is basic island, Caracas, and this fetch land get Uro chunking. The other good news is that my sideboard contains back to basics. So let's see if they port this fetch land and force me to shuffle away my island, which I don't think I would do. I would just draw it. All right. So they can port my island in the end step. And I am drawing wild, so I don't know what's on top of the deck right now, so I'm not going to shuffle if they don't make me. All right, going for that. So this gives me a choice. I can get my basic plains, or I could get another basic island, or I could just yeet into this wasteland and try to get a green source. Pretty sure I don't want to do that. Just losing on the spot to Loam is not what I'm interested in. There are 2 basic forests in the deck, but obviously Flooded Strand doesn't get them. So do I think that Plains is more valuable than the second blue? Let's check it out. So 2 blue are Narset, Jace, and bringing back Uro. Double white is Council's Judgment and Supreme Verdict. Single white, which I have in my hand already in Caracas, cast this Plow. So I think I just want to get my basic island. This also plays around Rishadenport a little bit in that they can't take me off a color because I only have 1 color. We'll see how that ends up panning out. But I can Caracas to snap Ponder or to leave up Hullbreacher next turn, depending on what they do. Valakut Exploration is a nightmare. Extremely difficult card to beat in a game 1 situation. The lands deck getting card advantage is always bad. And because I only have 2 lands, I can't Snapcaster in response to port and then wait till my main phase to ponder. Like if I had a blue source in hand, I could do that, but I don't. And can't risk it. Alright, so this is looking pretty bad. It's going to depend on what that last card in their hand is. Like if they have Loam, we're basically just dead. But even stringing together like a fetch land, getting multiple triggers off Valakut Exploration, they're going to draw several cards a turn and pull ahead pretty fast here. That opening turn where I said this hand is kind of exposed to Wasteland has turned out to be true and kind of devastating. The good news is now I can snap Ponder around this Rishadenport. So what's in their hand if they didn't cast anything? Is this going to be like crop rotation for the win? So, and they tapped my Caracas, which could have been just to take me off white. It could also be because they're going for Merit Lage in my end step. 2 forces and a Shark Typhoon. I think I want one of these forces and the Shark Typhoon. It's very weird that they didn't make a land drop or cast a spell. I'm just trying to figure out what they would be holding. Like, I fully expect a crop rotation to happen right now. There it is. So, there are not a lot of spells in their deck. So, I'm going to force this, pitching Supreme Verdict. Because that crop rotation also triggers Valakut Exploration. Which is not something I'm interested in. Oh shit, I was busy reading this card and they copied my Misty Rainforest, which is going to give them a land drop. I should have fetched Basic Forest in response. That's just like another card they get to draw now. But if they, I guess if they do that, they lose their Thespian stage, which I am not really mad about. Though this second exploration, it's definitely going to be worth it to fetch if they don't have another play. Yeah, that is Thespian stage, straight into the graveyard though. Another exploration, yikes. And wasteland, also yikes. Yeah, they're going off here. Think they're out, or do they have another land drop for the turn? There's another stage and horizon canopy. All right, they did have one more land drop, it seems. Oh, and Field of the Dead's on. Yeah, we're fucked. Okay, this is the importance of sideboards. Back to Basics are coming in. Rest in Peace coming in. Uro's probably coming out. Well, Uro is coming out because Rest in Peace is coming in. There's a lot of anemic stuff. I drew 2 Supreme Verdicts and a Plow this game against an opponent who's not interested in playing creatures. So I'm just going to check the main deck, make sure we have any outs at all. I don't think so. I guess like assembling Days Undoing somehow, but they're going to waste me out of this game anyway. So we're going to let them dump these cards into their graveyard so they can't cast them. Then I don't actually want that Shark Typhoon that's on top of my deck anymore. Now that I see where this is going. I'm actually going to go out of my way to show them Uro, so when I pivot into Rest in Peace, it's more of a surprise. I guess they're going to port me, so it doesn't matter. Alright, I guess I'll flash in Hullbreacher here. That way it's at least in play if I draw my Days Undoing. Like, if I draw, like, land Days Undoing, maybe there's still a chance in this game. But we're pretty far under control here. Though that last card in their hand we know isn't a land or a spell they want to cast. It could be a Mox Diamond. But if they're able to crop rotate here for a fetch land and effectively like draw 6 cards. Okay. I wish it was draw 6 because Hullbreacher has that covered. This is just way better than that. Yeah. Alright, so they're going straight for depths. So I have the Plow. If I top deck a white source, I'm not dead. Wasteland. Oh, is that a loam they found? Yep. All right. Completely dead. Yeah. There's nothing to do here. I'm gonna try to get this Uro on the stack. Like if I draw a green source, but they just had a second port. No, I'm dead. Okay. I'll let them continue exiling cards just for more information, but this looks like a pretty standard red-green land stack with Punishing Fire. Loam, library. Another loam. Alright, I'm dead. I've seen enough. Time to bring in those back to basics, take out the Supreme Verdicts. Okay, so back to basics, obviously coming in. Ashiok also very good here. It's both graveyard hate and counterplay to their crop rotations and fetch lands. Carpet and Veil don't matter. Surgical is an option. Rest in Peace also pretty good. I could pivot into the full Court of Grace and Moat plan, where if I'm planning for a game where I'm going to have to beat Field of the Dead, that's probably what this plan looks like. Council's Judgment and Teferi are my only generic removal spells, like permanent-based removal spells in the deck, so the Sylvan Libraries they have, and if they bring in something like Choke, like those are all going to be bad news. I have to respect Merit Lage a little bit and leave in some plows, which I don't want to do, but I'm going to have to. The good news is Planeswalkers plus Moat backed by Swords to Plowshares is very powerful against a deck like this. Force Negation is another way to control Life from the Loam. Like, keeping their engines offline is how you win the blue versus lands matchup, other than back to basics. Like, you could just cheese them with a back to basics or Blood Moon kind of thing, but if you're going to win a fair game, you have to keep the loams and the Valakut exploration kind of things under control. I gotta cut one more card here. Shark Typhoon does block Merit Lage, buy me a turn to pivot into Teferiing it. Hullbreacher does very little in this matchup, except combo with Days Undoing. So I think I want access to that, at least in a little bit. Null Rod for their Mox Diamonds is not really a plan I'm interested in. We didn't see Abrupt Decay or Black Mana, so yeah, I'm gonna do this. It can be weird leaving in 5 forces against that basically wants to just make land drops, but I think it is reasonable to do. I'm gonna keep this. I have turn 1 Ponder off of a basic land, turn 2 Library, turn 3 back to basics. I'm just gonna try to ride this library into, like, overpower Rishadenport, overpower Wasteland. Force of Negation is a great find. I would have to pitch Brainstorm if I want to cast it, but if I'm doing that, it's probably worth it. So I don't need to counter something like Exploration. I should counter something like Valakut's Exploration, which they can't play on turn 1. I'm not going to fight over a Mox Diamond, I don't think, especially... So going long, which is how you have to plan these games, I can get their lands under back to basics, and I can bounce their Mox with Teferi. Alright, yeah, so they're exploding pretty hard here. Schadenport is a beating, but it's okay. I'm not going to Brainstorm here, there's no rush. I'm drawing basic planes, I'll just play that. I'm going to slow roll my green source, so next turn they can port something and then I go Sylvan Library. I will Force of Negation a Loam or a Valakut Exploration. If they, important to note, if they go for crop rotation in my end step, I can't Force of Negation that. But if they port me, then it doesn't matter. Okay, they're porting my planes. I like that. Okay, so exposing myself to Wasteland, but Sylvan Library is in play now. They have 2 cards left in their hand. I have a handful of answers. Let's get ahead of this. 4 different lands in play for Field of the Dead, but I have the moat lined up. Not on my watch. So pitch Brainstorm. Yeah, I'm going to pitch Brainstorm because with Library active, I'm already digging, and the Teferi and Back to Basics both provide unique effects compared to that. Alright, no Wasteland. That's good. 1 card left in hand over there. I am likely to just pay 8 no matter what. Just please give me a land in these cards. Alright, we got there. Okay, yep. Pay for. I'm going to fetch a basic forest, and then I have all 3 basics, and we're in back to basics. I can even protect my back to basics from Red Blast with a Force of Will. So this is exactly the game I described when we looked at my opening hand. They have 1 card left in hand over there. Let's see if it's good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're 2 lands away from Field of the Dead. Crop rotation. So they're probably going to get basic forest with this just to continue functioning. I don't think this is where I want to put my Force of Will. Like, if they didn't have Mox Diamond, I'd consider it, but I'm fine with them using that card to do that. Like, it would suck if I force this crop rotation, but they already have Mox Diamond, so I just end up losing to Red Blast off the top anyway. No thanks. Okay, so now I'm going to be a little more careful with my life total. I will put Caracas on top. And do I want to pay for? So the question is, am I casting Moat this turn? Am I casting Teferi this turn? I'm not Rest in Peacing this turn because I don't care about that. I will keep this basic Plains because that's going to be valuable. I'm going to shuffle, I'll get a basic Island. Because there are double blue cards in the deck. Then I guess I should tap my forest because I do have cantrips I can draw. I'm going to send Mox Diamond back to the hand. That's going to cost them another card to play that again. Cycling Shelter Thicket in response, no big deal. Okay, so I'm at 5. They did not play a land last turn. Depths, Wasteland, okay. So now they have Zombos, but I have Moat. Just gotta get this Merit Lage under control if they top deck Vespian Stage. Put on top. And put on top. I don't have life total to goof around with anymore. Alright, so they're under the lock. Now we just need to figure out how to win. That Icefang Coatl can buy time against Merit Lage if they're able to assemble it. Okay, they played a second Dark Depths just to get a second zombie. That's reasonable to do here. Put on top. I hope I don't need that. And put on top because I can play both of these cards this turn. So I draw that. Fetch another basic. There is one more island in the deck. And now you are in the squeeze. I'm gonna immediately start going upstairs. No, they can actually keep that because I don't care about it. Like, they can tap one of their mana sources to get it into play, then Teferi bounces it. Or I could just find a Hullbreacher this turn. So lots of choices here. Yeah, there's Hullbreacher. I suspect they will concede to Hullbreacher. Just need to be very careful not to accidentally keep one of these cards at 4 life. Nope, you can keep that. Plus. Dang. Might as well attack, what the hell. It's not hurting anybody. I guess this was a good turn to get Narset into play because I know that their hand is irrelevant and I don't necessarily need to hold up Force of Will. I guess something like Crows and Grip blows me out, but it's been many years since that card was played in lands or in Legacy at all. Right. Put on top, put on top. Put that on the bottom. Do I care? No, you can have that actually. I'm sitting with Teferi in play here. Whatever. Another force lined up. I'm going to stop attacking because it doesn't matter. I don't know how they can still win this game, but I guess we're playing it out. They would need multiple bangers on top with Teferi, or some clean answer to moat, like I said, like Crows and Grip. Land Crows and Grip, I guess, puts me to 2. But I can flash in Hullbreacher, so that's not even true. What the hell? Let's get another one in there. Put on top, put on top. I'd like to put that on the bottom. Yes, that's what I was looking for. That's the kind of card I'll put on the bottom. That's why I ignored Choke. That's why I ignored everything else. That's what matters. So I have 2 forces. I can plow one of my own creatures if I need to gain some life. I can plow a Merit if they sneak one in. Like drawing to Thespian Stage. But even just Coatl blocking for the turn gives me the turn I need to go off with Jace. But I guess 20 is a lot of damage. So even if I do go off with Jace, they'll still have 2 or 3 cards in hand. Nope. That's what I put on the bottom, and they top decked one anyway. But very much covered. They knew about that force from Narset. So that hand had a plan from the opener. Like I was just like, I'm going to ponder, Sylvan Library, back to basics, and moat. And that's exactly what happened in that game. So that went well. But Red Blast confirmed. Let's see, does anything change here? Veil of Summer can resolve a back to basics through Red Blast, but if it resolves and they destroy it, it doesn't do anything, so that doesn't gain any special treatment in my mind from that. A turbo Merit Lage is a concern because I have boarded in a way to play kind of a longer game than that. But having seen the Sylvan libraries, maybe I do want all 3 Hullbreachers, because that is a pretty clean answer to that. But Hullbreacher does also die to Punishing Fire, which is a card we've seen. So there's a lot of back and forth there. I still like Shark Typhoon. I still like Iceman Quaddle. I like everything that stops me from taking 20 from Merit Lage, basically. The Surgical is awkward with Rest in Peace, because you probably don't need to exile something from the graveyard quickly, like a deck like Reanimator you would need to. Like, when you bring in both of these cards, you generally want to bridge the gap from like turn 0 to turn 2 with Surgical, then slam the Rest in Peace against like Dredge or Reanimator or whatever. But this is a matchup that is probably going to go long enough that I'll find Rest in Peace before I need to Surgical anything. So, kind of a give and take there. I could turn the Surgical just into some other card. And I think maybe I should. And the question is Hullbreacher or Plow the better card? And I'm thinking it might be Hullbreacher, just because Sylvan Library is such a problem. It's not any of these other cards, I'm sure of that. Plow or Breacher, or just bring the Surgical back. Actually, I'm going to leave the Surgical in just to make sure. I will, in fact, maximize safety from the graveyard rather than trying to like min-max my opportunity. Like, what's the minimum sideboard I can get away with and still have a plan versus like, let's just make sure I don't lose to that stuff. I'm going to go with that after all. Though, I think if I had a better card in the sideboard to bring in than Hullbreacher or Plow, like, I don't know what, but if there was some slightly more interesting card, I would not feel bad about presenting a deck without Surgical. All right, this hand is extremely exposed to Choke. It's extremely exposed to Chalice of the Void, but I don't think they're going to have that. It's a little exposed to Wasteland, but getting basic Island, then double Ponder, hopefully will clear the way for that. And I can actually cast Council's Judgment, which is of note. Wow, they didn't have Exploration? What a world. So basic island, ponder. Force of Will is a good find. So I'm going to put Force of Will in my hand and hope I don't need it because I want this ponder. But that Brainstorm that we just saw on the top is going to be really important to fixing this hand. I don't want to force this because they can untap and jam choke, but if I don't force it, they're going to bury me. So force is a necessary evil here. Gonna try to sit on this Brainstorm for a minute though. I know my next card down. I know it doesn't shuffle my deck, so. Like if they spend the turn wasting without a follow-up, I think that's mostly okay because I do have land drops to hit. And they're not speeding up, that's just like an exchange. Oh, they have another library. They have Loam for Foothills and Wasteland. Alright, so Waste Loam is a thing we're gonna have to play through. So let's hope this Brainstorm delivers. Okay, yeah, I count that as a delivery. So Moat and Tundra can go on top. The second Brainstorm is good, we're gonna need that. Schadenport, okay. Alright, yeah. Like, I have land drops to hit. I'm gonna get through this, like, Port Wasteland kind of stuff, but I need to pull ahead or shut the door on their engines before it's too late. Yeah, missing the green source, the Squaddle would be great to get into play. Top card of my deck is Moat. I want to draw that before I mess around with the Brainstorm. Like, they're going to port me in my upkeep, but I'm not going to Brainstorm in response because getting every card out of the Brainstorm is more important here. Alright, so please don't Red Blast me. Okay, nice. That was actually great. So I can extract Loam and jam Sylvan Library. I will lose my Trop immediately, but I think that's okay. I'm going to put Moat or Coatl in Moat. I guess Library's going to get through all of this anyway, so it doesn't really matter what I put back. Good thing I left the Surgical in, huh? If they have a cycle land, they can save it in response. Oh, they had a second Loam in hand even. That's a banger. So they have Punishing Fire in their hand, basically. Oh wow, there was only 2 Moats in the deck after board. Or 2 Loams. Force of Vigor, worth noting, 3 of them. 2 Chokes, 1 more Library, 2 Valakut Explorations. But they only have 2, and they had them both in game 1. Give me a break. Okay. So 3 lands in their hand. Let's turn the corner here. It was Caracas, Fetch Land, something else, Punishing Fire. Oh, Wasteland, yep. So Caracas, Fetch Land, Punishing Fire. I think I forgot to write them down, and Moto doesn't track that for you off Surgical. Okay, so they're gonna port my planes, maybe. Or maybe not, and let me resolve Moat, because I'm cool with that too. So do I want to just pay 8, get through this? Probably. Like, not that these cards are phenomenal or anything, and I can't pay too much because I know about Punishing Fire, and it would be really embarrassing to get burned out from 16 because I went nuts with Sylvan Library. Are they just going to go face right now? Alright, yeah, that's fine. Alright, so I needed to get through those cards because they weren't going anywhere. Green source is a big deal. Their hand is Caracas. and 2 mystery cards. So I can stick Moat this turn even with a Rashad Port activation. Oh my god. Alright. Put on top. Put on top. And Shark Typhoon is great. That's pressure, it blocks Merit Lage, draws a card. So no problem there. It's also currently bigger than Punishing Fire. I can also plow a shark to gain 3 if I need to. Basically, the thing I don't want to occur right now is I make a 3/3 shark and they jam choke. Okay, they didn't fetch for a land that activates Rashad Port. So I'll know for sure if I'm getting choked or not before I have to make any decisions about it. Okay, sweet. This Punishing Fire is getting threatening, though. The Field of the Dead also represents damage. Though 3/3 sharks are pretty good at controlling zombies. If they spend a turn double firing a shark at any point and just gaining me that 4 life, that would be huge. Yikes. Alright. Top. Top. I am going to ponder. I would like to keep hitting land drops if possible. Not quite what I was looking for. So they regrow, I go to 6. They fire me, I go to 4. Yeah, that's not much that I care about there. So I'm going to ponder again. And I can either moat or shark if I find a land. Okay, found a land. Force of Negation is insane because that gets rid of the fire. So that can be a long-term plan. But if I use this land now, then I lose the force. That's actually pretty close. Tough call. How can I set this up in a way that keeps me the most alive? Okay, so draw the land, make my land drop. I can cycle Shark Typhoon to draw Force of Negation and make a 1/1 shark and pitch Ice Fang Coatl if that becomes necessary. I guess I can't do that on my turn. So yeah, if they fire me end step, that's okay. Yeah, I would prefer to just get to my turn, have Force of Negation in hand before I have to do any of this other shit. Okay, so now it's time for Moat to show up and do something useful. So cycling for 1 instead of 2 is going to show them that I care about the top card of my deck. As I do. The next card in my deck, did I care about that? Honestly, I forget what it is. It's out of here. I'm going to go get my forest. They still have that Rashad Port over there. Still not interested in using it. Top. I already have 1 plow. Top. So I'll make my attacks. We're going to Mazavith the big one. Or not. Okay. Moat. 1, 2, 3, 4. So Moat will turn off the zombie. I'm going to have to plow. So this, I go to 4. Then they can zap me down to 2. If I go for the plow on my own turn, I can force a negation back up, like if they try to red blast the shark that I'm targeting. And they're very close to this punishing fire going off, but once I can hold up force the negation for the hard cast on my own turn, I'm gonna be in a good spot with that. Though they can port me off double blue if they choose to. It's an exciting game. If they just go for it right now, then I force a negation pitching Hullbreacher. What a delight this has been. Oh, but I have to go to 3 for them to go for it now. So that's not a thing they can do. So put on top. Put on top. Make my land drop. So now I can coaddle and double plow if I need to gain life in a pinch. I can also hold up force of negation for the hard cast. This is fun. This Maze of Ith hasn't been activated yet. They could be at 13, but instead they are not. So how hard do I want to play around force or red blast? So I'm gonna plow this shark first, and I'm gonna do it while punishing fires on the stack, so they don't get the gain 3 life action or rebuy action right away. Yeah, I'm gonna dance around this very carefully. Oh, they can copy punishing fire now. All right, maybe I should have been less careful about that. But just losing to a red blast when I don't have to is not something I'm excited about. This Coatl will draw Jace. Jace can actually like win a game on its own. I'm gonna Coatl here. I guess I should hold on to Hullbreacher, because there's no reason to play it. It's a blue card for force if I need to pitch. Okay, so do I want this Plains? Do I want this Jace? 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't hardcast Force of Negation if I'm casting Jace this turn. I think I'm gonna just top with the fetch land. Or do I want the fetch land actually? Yeah, I actually want the fetch land. I want to see fresh cards off of library next turn. Okay, Maze of Ith is in the game now. So I can Hullbreacher and plow Hullbreacher to gain 3 life as needed. So let's see how many times they want to fire me in the end step. Like if they just tap out of all their red mana, I might just go for it. Okay, so they have double red, so they're not tapping out of red mana at all. Dangerous, dangerous. So when they rebuy fire next turn, all right, I'm at 2. Gonna keep hiding behind this plow. Though every 1 life matters with Grove plus fire, because it effectively deals 1, and this fetch land is looking kind of dangerous right now. All right, so it looks like they're just going for it. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. My plan here is to Hullbreacher plus Plow in response to the next one, and hopefully they'll use their Red Blast on my Hullbreacher to fizzle my Plow, and then I can exile the fire. All right, here we go. Do I live to fight another day? Okay, so they didn't Red Blast that either. All right, I'll go for it now, because I gave them the chance for a lethal Red Blast and they didn't take it. So they either just don't have it or they're being super patient. Okay, I'll accept super patience. They played that very well. So now I need to library up a real answer. Because I'm going to 2 here with my fetch. I have lots of white. I think blue is my... Alright, so find me the Rest in Peace, Sylvan Library. Alright, we'll take Ashiok. Oh, we got both. Okay. What do I think is better? Oh, that's actually kind of interesting. So, definitely putting this back. Rest in Peace versus Ashiok. Ashiok turns off crop rotation and fetch lands. So, here's this. I am at 2, though. I'm dead to the next Punishing Fire. I guess if they have Veil of Summer, I just misplayed. Ooh. They said heartbreaking in the chat. I hope it's true. But like I said, the top 2 cards in my deck aren't helpful. And I am at 2. So Valakut Exploration could just kill me out of nowhere. Punishing Fire off the top kills me. Caracas doesn't matter. This is a top deck war. Okay, Exploration I don't think matters. So do I keep activating Ashiok or do I just sit it and play? Like, what am I hoping for? Okay, put on top. Put on top. Then Teferi's coming in. So Teferi, fuck it. Let's keep milling them out. Mill to Valakut Exploration. That means I played right. Okay, so I'm plussing Teferi in case I need to Council's Judgment something. But I don't know what that would be. Like, I want to draw an extra card. Does it matter when I draw an extra card? I don't know. Like, they just don't have anything to bounce, I guess, is part of the problem here. We know they didn't have Punishing Fire last turn, so any, like, lethal thing they draw. I guess Council's Judgment is protection from Valakut Exploration, because I can exile it before the end of turn damage trigger happens. And they are at 3 over there. It's Sylvan Library. Get 1 fresh card here. Put on top. Put on top. Never sad about a shuffle. I could shuffle now and draw a card with Teferi. Then I'm at 1. What's the difference between 1 and more than 1? The difference between one and more than one is Valakut Exploration. Like, they would just need one land drop to kill me instead of two. So I'm going to leave up the Council's Judgment again. They have Rashad Port they can activate if they want to, like, tap my fetch land. Oh, okay, they're copying Maze of Ith. Oh no. Now I'm going to have to win this game another way in 3.5 minutes because I'm not getting through for damage. I guess back to basics would do it for me. That would win the game very quickly. This is tight. I'm very excited about it. Crop rotation. I mean, it resolves, but they can't search their deck. Whoops. Honest mistake. I would be excited to... I'd be excited to draw a spell there too. I should be less chatty though, even though this is a great match and they're being very nice. Like, the clock is their primary win condition right now. So I'm gonna get the planes, just avoid non-basics if I can. There's back to basics, okay. Yes, use Sylvan Library, put these back, top. I'm gonna attack with these. I guess Teferi could bounce Coatl to get pretty deep into the deck, but I still think holding up Council's Judgment makes more sense. So they're going to use their mazes this turn. Then they have one draw step to rule them all because they are dead on board. So plus Teferi. I should not have tapped my planes there. That was unnecessary, but okay. Alright, don't draw Punishing Fire. What do we got? Did you find it? Yeah, my opponent said they can't wait to watch the video, and they're going to be really proud of their play. Like, even though they did make that little crop rotation mistake and they missed the two Maze of Ith activations, which both mattered, don't get me wrong, but I think they're going to be really proud of the way they played around that Force of Negation the whole game. Like, that was a fun little dance we did. But on to the next round. This is a beautiful hand. I'm keeping it on the draw. Just 4 lands and 3 cards with flash. Hell yeah. I'm here for it. 2 of them are cantrips. Oh. You know, I'm sure my opponent will also have cards to play, though they did just mull to 4. Generally, when your opponent mulls to 4, having Force of Will in your hand is a good thing. But just look at the game plan of this deck. Just starting on turn 2, Flash Threat, cantrip, Flash Threat, cantrip, backed up by counterspells the whole way. If they are straight up depths, though, we're going to need a plow pretty quick. Though I am happy to have the Force of Will to at least play around crop rotation or Hex Mage. Because depths on 4 can definitely still win, but they're not going to be able to protect it very well. Uh-oh. Alright, well, I have Coatl. That can buy a turn. So, like, if they have Spirit Guide right now, they can make Merit Lage. But Coatl can block for a turn, which the Coatl cantrip plus draw step is 2 draws to find a plow or Teferi. And, alright, they did have it, so no worries. We planned for this. So Coatl blocks for a turn, gives me 2 draws. Shark Typhoon blocks the next turn, gives me 2 draws. I can ponder along the way. So, yeah, they didn't make a land drop, and like land crop rotation for Sajiri step was what I was worried about here, but they don't have that. Now I just need to make sure I fetch a green source. All right, The hard part's over. So Quaddle absorbs 20 life. And then next turn, Shark Typhoon absorbs 20 life. Unless I just draw Plow or Teferi, then I'll just jam it. Alright, so I'm going to use the Shark Typhoon rather than try to Ponder twice. This gives them the chance to draw Sejiri Step, and they have to Raw Dog Sejiri Step. They can't crop rotation into it because I have Force. Alright, so let's do another round of that same thing. Ding, ding, ding. So my flash threats gained me 40 life, and then they gained them 20 life, and then we win the game. They haven't made a land drop in several turns. Here's Hullbreacher. So I'm able to remove this and deploy a threat this turn. My opponent said apparently the first game they ever played with Depths was against me as well. And they're having flashbacks to this shark situation. Alright, yeah, they're just conceding. Alright, cool. I probably didn't need to cast the Hullbreacher, but now they know about it. Alright, GG. So we're playing against Depths. Veil of Summer does counter a lot of their counterplay, like the Abrupt Decay, discard spells, anything they might have that's not a 2020 will get interacted with by Veil. Moat doesn't matter, Court doesn't matter, Rest in Peace, these things don't matter. If we play any sort of like medium long game, Back to Basics can shut the door. Surgical can also, like if I survive the first Merit Lage, I can Surgical the rest of them. So I think these are the 4 cards I want to bring in. Supreme Verdict does very little here. We didn't see basically anything from their game 1. Like nothing that would indicate what specific flavor of Depths they are, because they just played Stage, Depths, Lotus Petal, Spirit Guide, which every version all play. So we don't know if they're Rainbow or Green-Black or Mid-range or Turbo or what. So gotta respect a little bit of all of it. I'm gonna take out the Supreme Verdicts. Those are good if they're the mid-range version with like Elvish Reclaimer and Dark Confidant and that kind of stuff, but in general, that's not where you want to be. So, where do I want to be? I think I do want all of my forces, anything to keep me alive. Anything that keeps you alive is important to have. Hullbreacher, or Teferi actually removes Merit Lage from play. Hullbreacher is probably the worst card in the deck. And if I'm cutting 2 Hullbreachers, I don't think I can leave in 1 Day's Undoing. So maybe I bring in a Back to Basics for good measure. Rest in Peace, Deafening Silence, Stony, Court. Yeah, these things don't really matter. I guess Court could be good, but no, if I bring in Court, I get super punished by some like random 2/3 or 2/2 creature, and Hullbreacher can actually ambush them in combat. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. Like, you don't need Back to Basics often, and there are a lot of games where you won't need it at all. But here we are. This hand has Swords to Plowshares in it, so I'll keep it. Oh, they kept 7. That's lucky. It's probably going to be a better game than when they kept 4. Alright, Rainbow Depths confirmed. So we're looking for Stifle and... Alright, so do I counter this? They can strip my Plow. It's fine. I'm not going to 2-for-1 myself over this. So Stifle and Flusterstorm are both cards that they could have in their deck. Like, if they have Inquisition plus Surgical, that's 2 cards out of their hand, and I'm fine with that. They have seen my Wall of Forces now. Uro's secretly gassed in this matchup because it puts you above 20 life. Uh-oh. Well, Brainstorm gives us a rebuy, but just need to hit land drops now. Like that's if Uro can get me above 20 life, and then I have Teferi to mop up the Merit Lage, like that's a 1-2 punch, like a long-term plan for this game that actually works. We'll see. So they're scrying. I don't think I want to deal with that. So, like this gets the depths. I'll force this. I think I want to pitch the other force. Because these are all things that buy me time against Merit Lage. So do they have like Spirit Guide Veil of Summer here? But if they Spirit Guide Veil of Summer here, that's the Spirit Guide they don't have to make Merit Lage with next turn. So that's fine with me. Like I kept a hand with 2 forces, and here's a spell that gets them the Merit Lage, and they might not have to cast another spell. This. Huh? Oh, they're asking why not the other way around. They asked why I didn't do that the other way around, and that's a good question. So I don't care about Inquisition of Kozilek going the other way around, because like a 1-for-1 taking Plow when I'm holding Teferi is whatever. Like that's not actually scary to me. The Sylvan Library being a direct line to dealing me 20 damage, that's worth a 2-for-1. Oh, why not do it the other way? Why didn't I pitch Force of Will to Force of Negation? Yeah, that's a reasonable question. I'm going to resolve this Brainstorm before I answer it, though. So I can sit on this other force and have backup Teferi on top. Actually, let's put Shark Typhoon back into the deck, because backup Teferi is fine. So what I'm saying right now is I was going to save Force of Negation at first, then changed my mind, but already committed to Force of Will. Yeah, so that was just a small sub-optimization. Like there was a point where I was considering if I want to keep Force of Negation in my hand, and then I decided like no, I actually don't care about it, but I had already like in my brain cast Force of Will. I should have fetched a player on Stifle. Whoops. All right, I'm gonna fetch now. And I think I want to get the forest. Do I force this thing? Probably. Because my plan is Uro and then Teferi, but my opponent actually has a great point, because now I'm at 17, Uro doesn't get me above 20. Like, if I had pitched my forces the other way, this plan would work out. I'm going to do this now in case I hit my land drop. Did not hit the land drop. Okay, so we're actually in slightly harder mode than we need to be right now. Yeah, and the difference between 18 and 17 life here is actually enormous. So, totally right opponent to call that out. Crop rotation. Oh, getting rid of depths. Are they going to get Urborg? Like, what's the pivot here? I guess if they get Urborg and have a second Depths in hand, they get Merit Lage. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Fair enough. So the good news is, with the line I took, I pitched Teferi, and they saw Teferi. So, like, they don't know about my second one. So I'm gonna hold on to this Brainstorm. Is there any reason to main phase this Brainstorm? Like, I don't have, like, Pithing Needle or anything, so... Yeah, I'm just gonna pass. Hopefully chump with Coatl. Like I said, can't get above 20 life here. I would just jam Uro easily if I had played correctly. So they're gonna make their thing. If they have crop rotation for Sejiri Step, I can Brainstorm for Plow or a counterspell in response. But that is my whole plan for this entire game. And if they cast a discard spell, I can hide the Teferi with Brainstorm. What do you got? Oh, a second Hexmage, or a second Dark Depths. Okay. This is bad. Okay, this is good. So, put back... So I can plow this one, force this. Oh, but what if they have Flusterstorm? Okay, so I'm gonna put Veil and Teferi on top of the deck. Veil and Teferi, is that the correct way to do this? Like, if I found a land, I would be able to let Hexmage resolve. Wait, I can just plow Hexmage. I can let it resolve, plow Hexmage, and then stick Teferi. Okay, so I'm going to put Force of Will and Veil on top of the deck. Or, no, Uro and Force on top. Uro and Force. Does this work how I want it to? Yeah, I can use Veil to protect my Plow from Flusterstorm. Yeah, okay. Alright. I think I figured it out. So plow this. Please have Flusterstorm. Just go Hellbent. Damn it. So they can't stifle a Teferi trigger. Because Teferi prevents that. They can crop rotation for Sejiri Step in response to Teferi, so I can't bounce. Oh shit, do they have it? God damn it. Okay, so I could have stacked this the other way and had Force of Will up. I was like planning for their turn and not planning for my turn. So yeah, I could have won that game. I fucked up. All right. I'll play better in the last one. Okay. Any changes happening here? I don't think so, but we do know they're Rainbow Depths now. I don't think that changes anything. So on the play, Back to Basics might be better than it was on the draw. Like, you know, fuck Hullbreacher. What does it even do? I guess it tangles with Sylvan Safekeeper, but I don't think they're going to do that anyway. Okay, so I punted that game a multitude of ways. The 1 damage from Uro would have been game-changing. The sequencing or stacking my Brainstorm correctly so I had Force of Will backup would have been game-changing. So made a lot of mistakes there. Days Undoing, no. No. All right, let's do this. On the play. I'll keep this hand. There's multiple ways of interacting with a Merit Lage here, plus Force of Will and Brainstorm. I like it all. I could play around Stifle by fetching. Is that important to me? Yeah, probably. Oh, I can even get a non-basic land if I choose. Yeah, I think I want to get Tundra here. This deck has like 1 or 2 wastelands, but they're not for just wasting people. Fuck my life. I played around Stifling into Wasteland. They play more Stifles than they play Wastelands. Now I'm going to lose to this. Okay. So I'm going to hide Sylvan Library on the top. Okay, that was a really weird situation. Like, I think this deck has 1, maybe 2 Wastelands. It's like a crop rotation bullet. And they just had it to kind of screw me. But the good news is that finding the Sylvan Library was nice, because now I actually have a plan to dig out of this. And I don't think I care about counterspells. Like, that's why I hid the Sylvan Library on top. So there's just 4 spells that interact with Merit Lage here, plus Force of Will. I've made some questionable plays this match, for sure. Alright, so the Uro taking me over 20 plan is probably not going to happen here. If they have Abrupt Decay for Sylvan Library, I'm going to be praying to my top deck. But that requires them to have another reactive spell without advancing their board. Alright, Library. Show me, feed me the news. Give me good stuff. By good stuff, I just mean a land, honestly. Okay, so yeah, let's just keep them all. Fuck it. So Teferi, I'll try to bounce this Reclaimer. That sets them back pretty far. Okay. Alright, looks like we survived that early weird interaction. But, I mean, now that I survived that first round of turns, them having their Wasteland in the graveyard and me having a Caracas still in my deck could end up favoring me going long. I'm not going to pretend I did that on purpose. Like, I definitely just fucked up. But is what it is. Alright, so Urborg is insane. It turns on these gemstone mines, so they aren't just going to die in 2 turns. Stripping my Jace. Okay, so they're playing for a longer game here. I'm not going to respect Elvish Reclaimer with a Force of Will, not when I have Sylvan Library plus Teferi all around that can answer it. There's the Caracas I mentioned. I hope that ends up being a punish. So, what do I want to do about this Reclaimer? I could just play another Teferi, bounce this, go another turn. So, I'm going to put the Caracas on top. And do I want to hang on to the Brainstorm right now? Like, I could also pivot into a game where I just ignore Elvish Reclaimer. I don't think that's a good idea, though. Yeah, I think I want to bounce this one also. And I'm sitting on Uro over here. Force of Will. Yeah, this just gives me another 4 cards, maybe more with Brainstorm to answer Reclaimer more permanently. And I have multiple permanent-based engines in play while they're playing out of their hand, and Reclaimer is a permanent-based engine. Alright, and now Reclaimer directly represents Merit Lage. There it is. So put on top, put on top. Now let's just get that answered. And because of Teferi, I know I can't just lose to crop rotation in the end step here. Which is a big relief. And here comes Uro. There's the Caracas that they used their Wasteland already. So they're going to need Pithing Needle for Caracas, plus a way to produce Merit Lage, add instant speed. And then it still has to get through Brainstorm and Shark Typhoon and Force of Will. I'm not saying it can't be done, it's just a lot. Extracting Uro, yeah, that's fine. Like, I would prefer they extract Uro to something like Swords to Plowshares any day of the week. I could have brainstormed here and like turned this land into something else using this as the shuffle, but I feel like I already have a fetch land. No need to do all that. So there's depths. Casting Elvish Spirit Guide as a creature, sure. Alright, already planning the backup plan. That's a clear sign that they don't have a good way through this Caracas. So, put on top, shuffle. And Back to Basics is still a card in my deck, so I want to respect that a little bit. But I also want to play my cards. I will get Basic Island, though. We were saying, put back these two. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I can cast Back to Basics and still make a 1/1 shark. If they do have like Spirit Guide to make Merit Lage this turn. But that will be the last thing they do this game. I guess if they have Spirit Guide in their hand and Sajiri Step in their hand. Oh, this is actually pretty tight. They just said in the chat, my out to Wasteland is the single correct, or my out to Caracas is the single Wasteland, and that's what I said. So accidentally played beautifully by running my first land drop into a Wasteland. Whoops, but we'll take it. If you play for the short game and end up in a long game, there are repercussions to that. So on to the next round. I'm on the draw with this perfectly solid Bant mana hand. Volcanic Island Go could be a slow Delver hand, or it could be something far more insidious, some combo deck. So I'm actually just going to play my dual land. There's a good chance they just waste me here, but Basic Plains doesn't do anything I need it to in either matchup, basically. Like, it doesn't cast this Brainstorm with a fetch land available next turn. It doesn't Brainstorm for more answers if they combo off this turn. It just doesn't do anything I need it to. I would have let on Basic Island if I had it, but not the old Plains. It's a pretty quick Uro this game, too. See if it matters. And depending on what information I have 2 turns from now, I can decide if whether jamming Teferi or Uro on 3 makes more sense. They did not shuffle. Another blue fetch land. Alright, I'm just gonna pass the turn with my mana now. Hanging Tropical Island out for Wasteland isn't exciting, but I still think having double blue just represents more and can do more. Like, I could Brainstorm into a Brainstorm or something like that, which isn't great, and I'd feel bad if I had to do it, but I'd feel worse losing the game if Force of Will was my 5th card down. So we'll see how this goes. Okay, another blue land drop. So if we're in like an actual blue mirror, I would want to cast Uro here. If it turns out they're Sneak and Show, I'm going to wish I cast Ponder. So I'm going to cast Ponder just to be safe. I don't want any of this shit. Okay, so I was really looking for another land drop there, and I didn't get it. But that's okay. I have my draw step plus brainstorm to find another one. This is just feeling a lot like Sneak and Show to me. It could still easily be Miracles, but I'm getting big Sneak and Show vibes. The second basic rules out any sort of Delver deck. So I could brainstorm here. I could go for a Teferi. Teferi would probably demand a counterspell at least. I could also just go for Uro. See if they have a response to that. I could also brainstorm because I'm fairly sure they're a combo deck at this point. Getting rid of the Supreme Verdict feels pretty good, and actually the Supreme Verdict's an easy pitch to force, but Jace probably is too. All right, let's see if they have a Stifle. All right, I'm not getting Stifled. So I'm going to get my double green to threaten Uro. Now the question is, do I want to play Uro? Or do I want to try to stick a Teferi? And Teferi, the upside of Teferi is just so big. It means I win every counter war. It also demands a counter spell now. Yeah, I'm going to go for Teferi. Hardcast Daze, okay. I would have preferred to run Uro into that, just saying. But that's okay. So they do have Daze in their deck. That doesn't rule out Sneak and Show. Though this could just be a really weird blue-red Delver hand. Nope, Sneak and Show confirmed. Alright, got it. Alright, did they have 2 counter spells? Probably. They've spent the entire game sculpting. Jeez, alright. Turns out if I just didn't tap any mana, I probably would have won that game. They had double Daze. Guess I just have to hope this is Grizzlebrand and not Emrakul. Yuck. Alright, so I went for a test move. Like, I had double Teferi. Like, I was going to test their hand with the Teferi, then stick the next one, but I didn't get a next one. The game ended too quickly. So, good to know. Alright, Deafening Silence I actually like against Sneak and Show, because just like with Teferi, it means that I'm going to win every counter war. I like Surgical. And I think I like Veil of Summer as well. Just, I don't play Red Blast, obviously, because I'm Bant, but this can help in counter wars. It's awkward with Deafening Silence, because if you have Deafening Silence in play, then you will never be able to Veil of Summer, except as a cantrip. But whatever. Swords to Plowshares, not great. Supreme Verdict, very bad, actually. Supreme Verdict's out. So I have Judgment and Teferi still for if they pivot into Arcane Artisan. I don't think I care about any of these other cards. Like, I don't really care about Carpet of Flowers. I'm just going to play very differently, cantrip very differently, prioritize things differently, and then I have a couple of extra things. I don't have a banger, though. I don't have a Containment Priest or something like that. So this game is going to look... We're going to have to beat them fair and square, is what I'm saying. Is this a Court of Grace matchup? I don't think that it is. But is there a worse card in the deck? Like, I could just go cut the last plow. But especially with Teferi around, Plow actually does have some utility against like Grizzlebrand. And I don't want to be ice cold to Arcane Artisan, but at the same time, like having 1 out, not much better than 0. Actually, it's a lot better than 0. It's like infinitely better than 0. All right, I'll play the 1. This is definitely a game where you just have to play like flash magic. I'll keep this even though I don't love it. I don't have any flash threats, but I do have 2 brainstorms and a land drop and a force. Awkwardly, this force does not combo with this sideboard card. They're in the tank over there. I am going to need my land drops too. Like, hitting land drops is all I want to do against combo or control for the most part. But Brainstorm saved me. There is the normal 20 lands in a cantrip fueled control deck here. And knowing that this game's not going to go very long, I can pitch Uro to Force of Negation and not feel too bad about that. Some pondering. They kept their 7. Alright, so just drawing a fetch land off the top would be my best draw, but as long as I brainstorm into one, it's fine. Uh-oh. Awkward, but okay. I guess I'll put these white cards back on top of the deck. So I can actually double Force and Veil of Summer, so I'm unlikely to lose this turn. I also can Surgical to check their hand if I need to know how to sequence my counterspells. So that's not really what I want to do. I guess I should have put Brainstorm on top and left Teferi in the hand, because I'd rather pitch Teferi than Brainstorm with this configuration. Alright, so I'm going to Veil in response. Alright, cool. So now I know my spells are going to resolve, and I have the Teferi to pitch here. Even get to cantrip because Show and Tell is blue. Alright, well, I mean, show me the sneak attack. Hopefully their hand is just 3 more Show and Tells. Just jamming on turn 2 like this is a play pattern if you have more than 1 Show and Tell. Okay, so their hand is... I'm going to actually write it down this time because Surgical doesn't keep track. Island, Tomb, Force of Will, Grizzlebrand, Ponder, Preordain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And their deck contains... There is no Arcane Artisan in this deck. Multiple Progenitices. Wow. And so just have to keep these 4 sneak attacks out of play, and that's how I win these games. Alright, cool. Alright. Brainstorm, don't fuck me up here. Thank you, Brainstorm. Alright, so I'm not actually going to need this Plow. And I don't think I want Deafening Silence, given the structure of this game so far. It would slow down their cantripping quite a bit. Actually, I guess I totally wanted Deafening Silence. It's still on top of my deck. I just won't shuffle, it's fine. So they don't have a red source to... So they need to find red source and sneak attack to get this game where they want it. There's a lot of red sources, only 4 sneaks. They did not shuffle. Yuck. Alright, red source confirmed. Yeah. If I had played Deafening Silence this turn, they wouldn't have been able to preordain there. Okay. I did put Deafening Silence on top, right? Okay, good. Yikes. Okay, so I'm gonna play the... I'm shuffling away Swords to Plowshares here. I'm gonna play the Silence, and then I can hardcast Force of Negation. So they probably want to just Force of Will this, because they're not gonna get another chance to force this game. Unless they think they're gonna need defensive Force of Wills. Alright, cool. The Preordained top-bottomed. I know 4 of the cards in their hand are Island, Ancient Tomb, Grizzlebrand, Force of Negation, or Force of Will. There's the Island. And Splat. Let's hope they didn't find 2 of those. So in one turn cycle, they found the red source and the sneak attack. Gonna have to keep this game moving forward. Alright, Uro. Show me your moves. Alright, well, gonna have to hope that they brick, and then I bring back Uro next turn. Alright, now I don't know anything about their hand anymore necessarily. But Deafening Silence slowing down their cantrips is a huge deal. Because in order to attack with a monster, they need a second red source and the second sneak attack, or else they'll have to pass the turn against my Teferi deck. But they also have Force of Will in hand that I know about, and I have Deafening Silence. So, proactive measures. Like, everything that D-Silence does to their show and tells also does to my Teferis. They can't cast any more spells this turn. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Blue, blue, green, green. Green, green, blue, blue. 1, 2, 3, 4. There is a Snapcaster Mage in my deck, so 5. Maybe leave Force of Negation in the graveyard. Exile. No, I do want Surgical. Wait. Alright, let's start this over. So, green, blue, blue, green. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so now I have a Force and a Surgical if I find Snapcaster. Alright, there's your Force. Now I Ponder. Because Uro is a creature spell, I get another spell this turn. If I find a Force, I'm going to feel pretty good. I'm going to feel pretty bad. Uh-oh, the redundant Deafening Silence, not what I'm looking for. So red source sneak attack is the bad news here. Oh, fuck. Well, there's that. Do you have the red source too? Nope. Okay. So time to draw Teferi, I guess. Alright, well, I get to Uro again with the fetch land. Another tropical island. So blue, green, blue, green. So they get to put in at least Grizzlebrand next turn. Is there anything I can do about that for 1 mana? I guess that Swords to Plowshares would have been... Might be a good time to find that. though that does give them a ton of life. They're going to be able to activate Grizzlebrand once next turn. Oh, Hullbreacher would be nice, but it's going to be too late. If they have Emrakul, do I just lose? Probably. The Hullbreacher's really good if I get another turn. Alright, I don't have a Pithing Needle in the deck that I'm looking for. Like, I'm just gonna... And I can't cast this Deafening Silence as just Annihilator fuel for Uro, or for Emrakul. Alright, so if the top 8 cards of the deck, plus Brainstorm, so the top 9 cards of the deck contain a red source and an Emrakul, I lose. And even like Lotus Petal, which is usually terrible with Deafening Silence, represents GG. Definitely super far behind. This is why I like having a Disenchant in my white decks, just for shit like this, but I don't have anything like that in this deck. Please miss. Please miss. They only have half their deck in their hand. What are the chances that they missed one of their 4 Emrakuls in the top 31 cards of their deck? Oh wow. We're getting in. Okay, so they're setting up for next turn. Big time. And end of the next end step. Alright, so even if they flash in a creature to block, they don't get that creature for my turn. So, alright, there's their spell for the turn. They clearly don't have an Emrakul. I guess I should probably just Brainstorm, though. Oh, doing it. What does doing it on my turn do? Yeah, I think I should just do this. It's not getting better. Like, I'm gonna have spells. Ooh, there's a Snapcaster. I can exile their Grizzlebrands. That's actually a big deal. So put back Deafening Silence and Jace. Oh wait, no, the second Uro had to get rid of the surgical. Never mind. I don't get to do that. Alright, let's crunch in, gain some life. Alright, there's Grizzlebrand. So if they try to draw cards, I can flash in Hullbreacher. Yeah, they get to gain a zillion life here. So let's see, Snapcaster, Ponder. Yeah, so I'm gonna Snap Brainstorm. And then I can still Hullbreacher. The second Hullbreacher, that would have been nice to have. Alright, I don't need Deafening Silence, and I don't need Plains. They're gonna draw cards, yep. Alright, well, let's fight over it. A pretty good chance there's a counterspell in these 6 cards in their hand. Plus they could draw 7 more in response. Not looking good here, team. Alright, yeah, they still had their spell that turn. Pretty sure they can find an Emrakul in these zillion cards. If they find Emrakul but not Grizzlebrand, what does that look like? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. I am left with 2 lands. And 1 life. Doesn't look good. Shit. Shit. Alright. They overpowered me. That turn that I didn't cast Deafening Silence and they were able to cantrip twice was unfortunate, but also like they had nothing. They needed to find Sneak Attack and a red source, and they found both in one turn cycle. And then I had an answer, and then they found another one immediately. So they did pretty well for themselves over there, but I also could have played better. So everything matters there. Also, just having a Containment Priest in this sideboard, even one, would just be such a big deal. Maybe over like Court of Grace or one of the Veils. Just get a Containment Priest in there, because like we saw that game, they stuck the Sneak Attack, and we were basically drawing to nothing. We were drawing to Council's Judgment to remove Sneak Attack at sorcery speed, and that's not a good place to be. So just one Containment Priest. It combos with Deafening Silence. It's a creature, so you still get a spell. Like Deafening Silence, and then you go Containment Priest with Force backup, it's guaranteed to resolve, because if they force, you force back, and they've cast their spell for the turn. So there is some synergy there. Losing to Sneak and Show is shitty, and this is a really good matchup for them. But on to the next round. I've kept this Bant hand on the draw. I don't know what they're doing. I hope it's not a Belcher deck. Uh-oh. Is it Dredge or is it Depths? What you got? Duress. Alright, they're definitely a combo deck. Probably going to strip the Brainstorm, because that's the thing that can meaningfully change my hand. Unless they are Depths, and somehow Teferi or Shark Typhoon is scarier. Oh wow, interesting. So if they are Depths, my hand's actually completely bananas. Because like we saw in the earlier round, we have the Flash Threat Cantrip, or Flash Blocker Cantrip, as the case may be. And leaving me with Brainstorm gives me a lot of agency to play around future discard spells. Alright, Depths confirmed. Nice. So I did an episode of Deep Analysis, which is a webcast that I do here on this channel with Tom Hepp, who is the Depths expert, Negator77, and he said the cards he fears most are Swords to Plowshares, Karakas, and Wasteland, and our deck has 2 of those 3. So we definitely have the tools to compete in a matchup like this. Oh, that's interesting. So they can't make Depths this turn, so I think... So I can actually put in Coatl and then put in Typhoon and have... But that still loses to Sejiri Step on blue. So I'm just going to jam Sylvan Library and try to find an actual Swords to Plowshares. Like, if I can have Plow backed up by Coatl, then that checks... They would need Sejiri Step on white and blue to get 20 across. Though I did open myself back up to discard spells. But if they have the Sejiri Step, it doesn't matter if they discard any of these cards. So they clearly didn't have a second discard spell, or they wouldn't have taken Teferi in the first place. This Gemstone Mine's also down to 1 counter, so if they don't have Urborg, they're not going to get a whole lot of action out of this. They get 1 more spell. Or 1 more activation. Alright, there's the Depths. So Spirit Guide makes Merit Lage, but they know about my multiple points of interaction with that. Okay, so Force of Will checks the... Force of Will checks Crop Rotation for Sejiri Step. But if they just have Sejiri Step in their hand, I can still lose. So I guess what I have to do is just hold up this Brainstorm. Or just hope that they don't have it right now. But if they have it right now, they lose the Mine. Alright, looks like they have it right now. Okay, so they're going to no permanents. So if they have Sejiri Step in hand, then I Brainstorm for Swords to Plowshares. And if they have to Crop Rotation for it, I have the Force. Okay, that's fine. That gives me time to maneuver, time to breathe. So they attack here. I don't want my top card, so I'll shuffle. And I'm going to make a shark. Do I want another white source? Double white has Council's Judgment, so yeah. Double white does give me an extra out to draw two. Alright, let's start the blocking parade. It's a shame for them that they found the Urborg after the gemstone mine ate shit. Cha-ching. Alright, so I don't need this. I'll pay for life to keep the spell velocity going. You get out of here. And now I have Hullbreacher. I can get in. And then I'm drawing to the Day's Undoing, the one of. Or they'll just pack it up. That's fair too. Okay. I do like the depths matchup, though it is always scary. Alright, we did this once before. Ashiok, Veil, Surgical. I think I ended up with both back to basics in the deck. And I think that was it. And we decided that Supreme Verdict, the Hullbreachers, and Days Undoing were all kind of goofy. Yeah, cantrips, every plow, all important. Things that draw cards or gain life or remove Merit Lage. My entire deck right now, remove Merit Lage, cantrip, and block Merit Lage. Cantrip, remove Merit Lage. Slow down. Alright, Narset is the only card in my deck that doesn't remove Merit Lage, gain life, or dig. I guess Narset digs, so yeah, this is a pretty sleek machine here. There is no part of the Buffalo going to waste right now. Every card has text. Alright, let's do it. God, I love Shark Typhoon, by the way. Have I mentioned recently on the channel that I love Shark Typhoon? Uh-oh. This is not a keep. This is a keep. This may look to the untrained eye like the same hand, but Caracas is a very different one land to have than basic Plains. So I'm going to keep this, and I think I'm going to bottom. It's either Surgical or Shark Typhoon. I think it's Surgical that I bottom. Because like any fetch land off the top casts Sylvan Library. The Surgical, like if they go for a quick Merit Lage without checking my hand, Caracas Surgical just ends the game. Though Shark Typhoon is mana intensive, but it is a blue card to pitch. I think Surgical is the pitch. Because if they can't answer Caracas, it doesn't matter if they can make another Merit Lage. And the one Wasteland in the deck, like we saw in the previous round. Alright, they're thinking about their 6-card hand. I am going to keep this and bottom Surgical. Okay, now it's time to draw a fetch land in my first 2 draw steps. Caracas is in play now. And I'll force of something a crop rotation, because crop rotation for Wasteland is how they get out of this. They could also just pivot onto Creature Beatdown. Sylvan Scrying, that also gets Wasteland, so I'm going to force a negation pitching Will. Saving the 1 damage. Thank you, previous opponent, for pointing that out. Fetch land. Kinda. I can at least cycle Shark Typhoon for a new card now. Though I am deeply exposed to my own back to basics. Come on. So I basically have to cycle Shark Typhoon for
a 0 just to draw a card. They could stifle the draw card trigger, and that would be a complete beating. I hope they don't do that. All right, found Ponder. Okay, okay. We're doing it. And I'm going to tap my Caracas because they have Wasteland anyway, and if they go for like a quick crop rotation Merit Lage at the end of this turn, I mean, they would need stage and depths to make that happen, and I have Force of Will. Pitching back to basics because it's doing more harm than good here, probably. Though if I get an activation out of the Sylvan Library, that might not be the case anymore. Sylvan Safekeeper. Target creature gains Shroud. Shroud includes Caracas, but okay. Oh, they missed their land drop. That's really interesting. I think it's time to just overpower this deck. I'm paying it all. I'll stick Narset now because I don't think they'd attack into open mana knowing about Shark Typhoon. But if they get into the habit of pressuring Narset, that's a lot more interesting. All right, Ashiok to shut off their searching in the future, or Ponder just to get velocity. I think searching is going to be pretty important. They haven't done anything important in several turns. Yeah, I'll grab Ashiok. That might even trick them into wasting one of my blue sources. This is the world's most embarrassing back to basics. At least it's blue. It'll be fed to one of these forces pretty easily. Alright, so now they have the muscle memory of attacking with that card. I'm gonna minus to bin the Narset, just keep the velocity going. I put on top and A4. Do I want to Fairy? Is that an important card to have? I think I'm more interested in Jace, actually. And then blue. Unfortunately, I have to tap pretty awkwardly here to still leave up Icefang Coatl. But yeah, this hand did not do a good job assembling depths. You're not going to be able to out-control me very long. And Ashiok's just going to sit and play. They don't have a graveyard to exile. I don't care about their graveyard anyway. I do care a lot about crop rotation, Sylvan Library, activating Elvish Reclaimer. All of those things matter. Alright, yeah, they're just packing it up. Fair enough. I did not feel like I could lose that game, and they felt the same. On to the final round. I am on the play, and I don't have the soul read that my opponent is on Belcher or Oops All Spells, so I'm going to mulligan. This is a hand of magic cards. I'm going to send Basic Forest to the bottom. I think that easily does the least out of this hand. It's possible I regret that. If they're like Delver, maybe I wish I didn't do that, but like if I knew they were Delver, I would send Narset instead of Basic Forest, but whatever. Is it weird that I saw this Expedition art of Scalding Tarn and I was like, oh, they're playing Death Shadow? Like, obviously they're not with Tundra and Ponder, and there's no reason for me to think that. It's just a Scalding Tarn, but that specific art was like, okay, they're on Death Shadow. My brain. Alright, I will play the Tundra, save this fetch land because I do have double Brainstorm, and I can Brainstorm or Coatl, depending on how the mood strikes and what this turn looks like. Uh-oh, mirror match. Held Tundra, Prismatic Vista. We can probably bet based on these land drops. Okay, interesting. Stoneforge Mystic, huh? Not a card I generally respect, but haven't played against this sort of thing in a while. Because it was banned for a while because of Oko. Let's draw a card here. Okay, so I have 3 cantrips to try to find an answer to this Stoneforge Mystic, or the weapon it produces. Batterskull. Oh, I could just jam Narset here. Make them play on my turns. I actually don't hate that at all. I'll get Tropical Island and just jam Narset. Like, if they force my Narset, which they probably have to do if they can, then my answers to Batterskull get a lot better. Force pitching Snapcaster. Alright, 3 for 1, baby. Alright, got a 3 for 1 out of that, which is pretty good. Like, in any control mirror you'll take a Hymn to Turok. So, now I'm going to use these cantrips to dig for the answer to this 4/4 lifelink. Probably should have led on Brainstorm, because then all of these great cards would be in my hand instead of just one of them. Alright, so I draw that. Yeah, definitely should have led on Brainstorm there, but whoops. If I ponder now, I'll have more velocity going into the next turn, because I want Hullbreacher and Force of Will in my hand eventually. Alright, so I'll get Force in my hand now, and then I can protect my Plow. I actually don't even have to do that, because I just saw another Plow there. Like, if they force this, then yeah, they can't take another Hymn to Turok right now. They did keep the old 2-land Snapcaster whoopsie doozies hand. Ah, fuck. I was really hoping they would wait on their Brainstorm for some reason, but when you're missing your land drop, you can't really wait on Brainstorm. So, but this Hullbreacher is probably going to be really good if they don't find some forward momentum very quickly. All right, I found a land. So I'm holding Hullbreacher with Force backup. I know I can Brainstorm into Plow if I have to. Like, if they put in like Sword of Fire and Ice or Umezawa's Jitte in the end step here, I can find Plow to deal with it. Maybe they'll just find none of those things, and I'll be able to snipe something with a... Uh-oh. Sword of Fire and Ice. Isn't that what I said? That sounds like what I said. Yeah, I'll let them go to equip before I fight over it. Okay, put back Prismatic Vista and Hullbreacher. Alright. Nothing like having removal spells against creatures. Magic as Garfield intended. Actually, literally. Alright, so I'm going to get my Hullbreacher and the land here. Now I'm extremely well set up to play through this game. My creatures have the touch now. And Hullbreacher with Force backup, hopefully I can just get rich off treasure very soon. This is why I don't put Mystic Sanctuary in decks, by the way. old ETB tapped. I'm sure you didn't need 4 mana for a Jace or backing up your True Name Nemesis with a Spell Pierce, or, you know, like any of the things that you might want to do with 4 mana. So I could brainstorm this forest away. Or I could... Yeah, I think I just want to hold on to it. Like, I think hardcasting Force of Will and brainstorming if they don't do anything I need to respect is a good play. Right, they got their Batterskull back. Teferi Time Raveler. That's not a very good card right now. So I stick Hullbreacher. Then I think I also just brainstorm now. Because I can't force anyway. So I'll brainstorm now. Put back... Oh, I actually kind of want a lot of this. I'll put back Plow and Forest. Or Forest Plow. Yeah, Forest Plow, actually. Alright, so they can have their Teferi. I have enough power in play to kill it if it pluses, and I can easily kill it if it minuses. So I know they picked up Batterskull. So I'm gonna draw the Plow, which I suppose I didn't need because I'm drawing Teferi. I'm gonna play around Swords to Plowshares by attacking Teferi with both of my creatures instead of just one. This Ponder is guaranteed to find a land if I want the land. Yeah, I'll Ponder. Forest Plains. I actually don't need the forest, but I will take the land drop. So I'm getting close to double spelling, like Teferi and Hullbreacher. I can do that next turn if I am so inclined. And I'm drawing Ponder, which is a blue card for force, and just a good card if I don't need to force. Teferi can bounce their Batterskull Germ. They've seen the Hullbreacher, they know it's in my hand, so they're probably not just going to jam cantrips now. Monastery Mentor, my goodness. Mad respect for that one. That's in play now. I have Plow. I want to jam that as soon as I get priority. It's not really a reason to wait till the end step. They just force pitching Jace. So I can force back, or I can play Teferi next turn. Yeah, I guess I'll force back. Removing Mentor is kind of a big deal. Especially with Sword of Fire and Ice sitting in play. Yeah, now that I pitched Hullbreacher to force, they can brainstorm in response here and get more out of this, if they have it. Okay, they didn't have it. Now Teferi can clean up the Monk token. Because it's a token, it is gone. I think if they had force, they would have used it already, so this Teferi should be good to go. And I'm going to fetch because I know I don't want the card that's on top of my deck right now. You get out of here. Shark Typhoon, love it. Oh yeah, that's good stuff. So the whole game is lined up here for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How do I want to deal with Batterskull? I guess I want to Supreme Verdict it. So I'll put the force in my hand in case they have some crazy pivot. But I can do a instant speed Supreme Verdict as needed with Teferi moving forward. Uh-oh, they're a red deck. This is just going to be Batterskull, though. Yeah, you can have Batterskull. I'll even let them gain 4 life. Oh, wait, no, they have Supreme Sword of Fire and Ice, so I can't do that. I mean, so they know I have something here. but I'm going to make them commit the mana to the sword. Then I'll verdict them. Then I should be able to close this out with Uro and Shark Typhoon before they get the point where they're bouncing in, replaying, and re-equipping Batterskull. Bang. Can't be countered. Also, I have Teferi. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. I can make a 4/4 Shark, or I can Uro. I think 4/4 Shark is better. And because I know people are going to ask, no, I'm not going to hardcast Shark Typhoon. It is almost always worse to do that than to just make a 4/4 Shark. Like the 4/4 Shark cantrips, you get something right away. If I play Shark Typhoon, even with force backup, so I play Shark Typhoon, instead of being a 2-for-1, it's a 0-for-1 on rate up front. Then they play something, I force it, I get a 5/5, but I had to 2-for-1 myself to get the 5/5. I actually think this will end the game if I just hardcast force. I didn't think of that on my turn, but now that it's in front of me, it seems very obvious. So, like, the amount of dancing I would have to do to just get anything out of the Shark Typhoon is really not interesting to me. But now that I have Hullbreacher, double spelling with Uro is much more exciting than making a 4/4. And Hullbreacher backed by Teferi is just the cat's ass. If they put a cantrip on the stack, they're going to get punished by it. End of story. Okay, so yeah, they're not only are they about to put a cantrip on the stack, they just used a Mystic Sanctuary to replace their draw step with that cantrip. Please concede. Here it is. All right, Bant magic cards. Yep, got the concession for that. Nice. Poor little Stoneforge Mystic just cannot hang in present day Magic. Okay, so what am I doing here? Null Rod and Stony Silence are both good against the weapons, and there's no disenchant in the deck. It's just the Council's Judgment and Teferi, like I've mentioned a few times before. So having some sort of answer to them is important. Moat could be a big deal, but we have seen Teferi out of them, so casting a 4-mana spell that they can answer while cantripping for 3 mana is not really where I want to be. Carpet of Flowers could be good. Veil of Summer could be good. I don't know if I want that many of them. Back to Basics bad. Rest in Peace doesn't do anything. Deafening Silence doesn't do anything. We've seen Snapcaster out of them, so Rest in Peace does have text, but I think I'll be better at it. Like, I think the Uro deck is favored over the Snapcaster deck when it comes to boarding in Rest in Peace or not. It's possible they have their own Rest in Peace, which I will respect for Game 3 if they show it to me. A Court of Grace. I think that's something I want to combo with Moat if I'm going to do it. So becoming the Monarch in these white mirrors is so backbreaking. Though they are a creature-based. We've seen Mentor. Oh, we've seen Mentor. Yeah, Moat just got a lot more interesting to me. Okay, so I don't like Force of Negation. As much as I like Days Undoing, and this is the last chance to do anything with it, I think Hullbreacher just upfront being a flash threat is better. Force of Will, like I don't want a 2-for-1 myself, but unless it's something like Teferi that's really, really worth 2 cards, I can go down on these. Narset's great. All the rest of these cards are pretty great. Do I need 2 Jaces when I'm bringing in this Moat Court of Grace package? Probably not. I mean, that's a lot of 4-drops to have in a deck. Okay, I'm going to try this. There's a lot of things you could do with the sideboard, but I like this anti-Mentor package. I just have a lot of respect for Monastery Mentor, obviously. Oh, look, here's my 4-drops. I'm going to mulligan the hand with 3 4-drops and 1 land in it. Yes. Snapcaster Mage can come up later, but this Carpet of Flowers is really exciting. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen Carpet of Flowers go off in a fair matchup, like Fair Blue Mirrors. And it shouldn't be a surprise if you follow Legacy. It's been a thing people have been doing for a while, but this is like Birds of Paradise, like turn one Birds of Paradise, the powerful play since literally alpha, and this is better than that. Right, they could have Back to Basics or Wastelands. Those are both cards that Stoneforge Mystic decks play sometimes, but Flooded Strand doesn't get basic, and I wouldn't get basic anyway here. Like, I could even cast Brainstorm right now, but I'm not going to. Like, it triggers in each of your main phase if you haven't used it yet this turn. So you can play it main phase 1, get the mana main phase 2. Which is pretty exciting when you draw it on, like, turn 4. Oh, wow, look at this. Here's this Mystic Sanctuary again. I hope you didn't want turn 2 Stoneforge Mystic. I'm really not just trying to be a dick when I make fun of Mystic Sanctuary. Like, I'm not making fun of my opponents. I'm just pointing out why I don't like the card. And it has been not good twice now. Look at this shit, by the way. I have Carpet of Flowers, which allowed a turn 2 Uro, which made a land drop. Yikes. So despite spending 3 mana already, I'm still holding up Brainstorm Fetch Land. Wow, Carpet. So I get to double spell already next turn. Like, I can play Teferi and Hullbreacher next turn. They have a Teferi of their own. Is this worth forcing? I guess I'll Brainstorm and decide. Nullrod, Snapcaster Mage, this land. I don't think I'm going to need Nullrod this game. I will tuck this land right here. And I'll force this pitching Snapcaster, I guess. Alright, yeah, I really don't want to play through a Teferi. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so I can double spell if I draw the land. I'm 1 card in my graveyard short of Uroing. Yes, make blue. Alright. Hullbreacher is up. I should activate Teferi. Just passing priority recklessly. I'm going to plus it. Blue-white doesn't have a whole lot of removal for Teferi, but they do have things I might want to bounce. Cast Brainstorm. Please cast Brainstorm. Oh, they're going to Ponder straight into my Hullbreacher. What a sad time to be alive. I guess being alive is pretty cool, but sad time to be my opponent. I'm going to get a green source. So I'm going to play around Back to Basics a little bit. But I needed a green source to make sure I can Uro this turn. So I guess the treasure is going to be a green source. My opponent said in the chat, why, God? Because I play 3 of them. It's what the deck does. Alright, so they still get to Ponder, they just don't draw a card. They chose to shuffle. Alright, they didn't want that. Alright, something that goes in the graveyard. Alright, cool. So I want to make blue mana. Make blue. So I can Swords to Plowshares this Snapcaster. Yeah, I guess I want to do that, because I want to attack with Hullbreacher anyway. And that gives me the card for Uro. We're just bullying this fair blue matchup. My God. I'm going to keep plussing Teferi. They'll put something into play eventually, and I'll remove it. So now they have to answer Uro, Hullbreacher, and Teferi. Any one of these cards can win the game on its own. Aw. Wow, their hand must be just mono cantrips. Okay, they have another plow. Yeah, okay. That's the only thing that makes sense there. Okay, fair enough. But now Teferi has something worth bouncing. Gonna have to present another threat. Bounce that. That's a threat. And I'm gonna brainstorm. See, I'll tap out Bant Bananagram here. I guess I should have passed a second main activated carpet, but didn't even need it. I'm gonna brainstorm with Jace, hopefully be able to use that mana. So that was a small sub-optimization. Just forgot about carpet. But it's not too late. This is a long pause for someone who's facing down a Teferi. Like, are they just thinking about their life and where things went wrong? Are they typing a mean message in the chat? I don't know. All right. They could also just let my spell resolve, which is my preferred outcome in that situation. Okie dokie, artichoke. How about that carpet mana? What do we say? Yes, and let's make white. Put it in my veins. This is what I live for. And they have backed it up. All right. That was a pretty successful league. I went 4-1. I lost to a sneak and show matchup that I did make some sequencing errors against. And they also got pretty lucky. But we can't complain about luck if we didn't play perfectly. And it's hard to play perfectly. So I would add a Containment Priest to the sideboard. Just in general, I think that card is worth having in these fair blue piles. Because the Reanimator, Sneak and Show kind of decks are actually really tough for these matchups in general. And you need something other than counter spells going along to beat them. So I would cut probably one of the Veils for a Containment Priest, and that's the change I would make to the deck. The main deck felt really good. Just a lot of bangers. Tap out control for the most part. Got your... Well, it's awkward. So I guess awkward's the wrong word, but it's really interesting that like flash threat, flash threat, flash threat, flash threat. The deck is full of flash threats, but also full of tap out bangers. So I don't know if that's like a push and pull on deck building or if that's a push and pull on your opponent. Like if they leave up mana to interact with you, you can play a flash threat in their end step. If they tap out because all your threats have flash, you have these other things that don't have flash. So that's really interesting. I actually really like that push and pull. I don't think it's a deck building error. I think it's actually a feature, not a bug. So really cool. I like this kind of deck. My inclination is to have Noble Hierarchs in it to speed out the Hullbreacher, but I think Spunky actually did a really smart thing by cutting the mana creatures and just having more solid, good top decks going along. Uro, obviously fantastic, and just a lot of play to this deck. I love Shark Typhoon. I love Planeswalkers. Jace, the Mind Sculptor, is back. So, Spunky, thanks for the deck. Everyone, thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you want me to play your deck, get in touch with me. My contact info is in the video description below. See you next time.